Welcome back, everyone.
Hello.
So, something I found out is that apparently there's secondary objectives, such as, I should steal the relic.
I like how he writes down the secondary objectives like in the first person.
Yeah.
Not just like steal the relic, but I should steal
Oh, is this just a confessional?
But there's no other, like, you have to awkwardly sit next to the priest, like, hey, how's it going?
Okay, so, hold on. I'm trying to figure this whole out. I'm pretty sure this is the way, that's the hideout, which I'm assuming is the far top left. And the statue right above it, I think, is the relic. And I think I should do that just in case I really need more abilities.
Okay.
Because I saw some of the abilities, and yeah, they are useful.
Alright, so Steve, I suppose while you're doing this, I could take this episode,
Yep,
commentary-wise.
Go for it.
Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Patrick's Binge and Purge series. This week we're going to the Wild Wild West, Jim West, Desperado. We're not talking about Wild Wild West by Will Smith, we're talking about Godless. It is an Old West...
Ignore that.
It is an Old West series taking place in 1884.
1884.
And the unique thing about this is it has a feminism-esque twist to it.
In the 80s.
Yeah,
No,
the
1880s.
Yeah, the 1880s at that. So yeah, basically what happens is these women, the men that they lived with, like usually it was a normal town. Like the men did most of like the hard labor, and the women did whatever the women did, right?
Uh-huh.
And one day it was a mining town, so all the men were miners, and there was a shaft collapse, and all the men died.
Drugs. Oh, well,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah, except for I think like 3 or 4 of them weren't miners, so they survived, but everyone else, like all the other men in the entire town died, so it was just a town full of women, basically.
Uh-huh.
So that's where the whole feminism peak of this one comes in. If you want my eventual talk about the whole feminism thing, meh. There are probably different series that have done feminism better than Godless, because, you know, I would still say, even with that, I would still say the main character is a guy. You can make the argument for who you think the main character of the show is.
Oh, so it's like 6? Final Fantasy 6.
Yeah, I personally think it's this guy named Roy Good, otherwise known as McCree. Not actually, but he's your classic gunslinging, like, old Western cowboy.
Money.
And
Yep.
what I would say the main plot of the show is Roy Good abandoned his pack of thieves.
Oh,
And
I thought it was like his pack of mules or some shit.
yeah, basically his pack of human mules, his like pack of cowboys that went around like, you know, causing terror to villages.
Kind of like Red Dead Redemption.
I don't know, I've never played.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that happens,
Abuse, saves.
basically the show starts off with guy named Frank Griffin. He's the leader of the cowboy group.
He's the leader of the group.
Yeah, you know him well. He's finally back to kill Roy Good. Yeah, and he ends up getting his arm, like, amputated because he suffered a gunshot when he was trying to, like, track down Roy, I believe.
Yeah,
And Roy Good, again, he's the best gunslinger in the West. He was able to take out a couple of his men and, like, get his arm and get Frank Griffin's arm off. So, yeah, he ends up getting his arm amputated, and then he spends the whole series armless. I'm sorry, Steve, but I really want to talk about my series.
No! No!
And it all starts off with a bit of an edgy intro. You know how the first, like, beginning of it, they try to show you just how edgy the series is going to be? Do you not know series that do that?
No. I can't actually move.
Like, literally your controls aren't working?
I can't move.
Well, good thing you abused some save states then, because even the controls are against you now.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I wanted to pickpocket and I accidentally killed a dude. Common misconception. And everyone's like, oh, what was that? Yeah, probably
So
nothing.
the very first scene of the show, you know how usually the intro scene shows you how edgy the show's gonna be?
Yeah.
Well, it shows, like, a whole bunch of dead bodies, like, both, like, women and children and men all mangled and dead because they destroyed this entire village looking for Roy Good.
Yeah.
And then it has this zoom-in shot of this, like, I don't know, like, 8-year-old kid who was, like, hanging by a noose.
Aww.
And it's just like, okay,
They grow
man,
up so
this
fast.
this is edgy. There's gonna be an edgy one. But yeah, then it goes to focus on Roy Good, who's wanted like in all of the Wild West, basically, because he's part of the cowboy gang. So he finds solace in this woman named Alice Foster, I think her name is. I can't remember her last name. She's part of the women tribe. She's part of the village of women, but she doesn't get along with the women too well, so she just kind of lives alone with this random Indian woman and her Indian son. I don't really get it myself, but whatever. So
okay, I can move.
She immediately shoots Roy Good on sight, not even knowing.
Oh, I couldn't steal because I had two. Okay.
She immediately shoots Roy Good on sight, not even knowing who he is. He just saw someone who wouldn't back down.
So now she's the sharpest shooter in the West.
No. He is not dead.
Oh.
And she starts nursing him back to health, and he shows himself as being very handy around the ranch and stuff like that. So he gains Alice's trust. Blah blah blah. It's the classic you don't trust him at the very beginning, but then eventually they do start to trust him, right?
Yeah.
And at one point, so the Indian woman ended up, having an Indian husband, obviously, because she had a son.
Oh.
And that's how it works.
I don't know how having kids works.
Yeah, and at one point, Roy Good puts on her husband's clothes, and she just goes absolutely nuts. She runs up, pulls Roy Good off of the horse, and just starts beating him. And she's like, "What's going on? I don't get it." It's like, you put on her clothes. You're not supposed to do that in our Indian system. And it's like, I was like, "Oh well, I'll give them back." No, she doesn't want them anymore. She says they're yours now. And then I'm pretty sure he proceeds to wear those for the rest of the series. So yeah, people really hated him, but then
he turned out to be a lovable guy.
Well, the reason he turned out to be a lovable guy is, first off, he was really good with horses, so he was able to tame all the horses that this lady just for some reason had. I can't exactly remember why.
It was the Old West. You need horses.
But he taught the Indian boy basically how to be a man in the Wild West, because he was growing up with his mother or grandmother and another woman, so there was no one to teach him all this stuff. So he was able to do that, and everyone's just like, all right, he's a cool guy after all. And then later on in the series, they don't know he's Roy Good immediately. And then eventually they figure out, wait a second, you're, really bad. And, eventually they forgive him because, so they go into the backstory of why he joined the cowboy group, right?
Why did he join the cowboy group?
It's a long story. Basically, him and his brother, their parents are dead, and they're heading out to California to start a business. Then the brother ends up leaving his son at a village, and the brother doesn't like the fact that he was left. So he is convinced that his brother's dead. Roy Good. Roy Good is convinced that his brother's dead, so he goes off, and I believe he ends up almost dying. And then Frank Griffin, the leader of the gang, saves him. And then raises him raises him as his son. Which, an interesting thing about Frank Griffin is that he always feels justified in what he's doing. You can tell he doesn't actually like it when he slaughters a whole village full of people.
Why not?
I don't know. He just doesn't like killing people for some reason.
Styx likes it. Oh, yeah. Look, sand.
But for some reason, he always feels justified, because he said, no, I know. This is what God wants me to do. I've seen my death, and God has shown me what exactly I have to do with my life.
Is anyone here?
Yeah. So, there's also Bill McNew, who is the town sheriff of the village full of ladies, and all of the ladies fucking hate Bill McNew. It's pretty fucking funny. So why they hate him is because he's too proud to tell people that he's losing his vision. And I believe there was a shootout or something that happened, and he wasn't of much help, so people called him a coward, even though he couldn't do much because, he doesn't have good eyesight anymore. For some reason, something is destroying his eyesight, and glasses aren't that common.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Nowadays?
1884. He gets some at some point, but he doesn't like them. There's a whole subplot with that I won't get too much into.
Get rid of this again.
So there's a point where Frank Griffin is sitting at the campfire with a couple people, and he seems like he's trying to make buddy friends with them. That door just closed right on those people, by the way.
What the fuck happened to you guys?
But clone yourself and go to the left.
Yeah, probably.
I'm gonna say you don't want to go in there. I think it's a trap.
Please go, friend.
But yeah, he's he joins in with a Swedish group of people, and he's just all right, everyone, I believe I'm going to turn in for the night. Now, there's just one more thing I want to know from you. Which one of your wives is going to be spending the night with me? So he basically, rapes them, and it's kind of fucked up. And then the next day, out of nowhere, this really pissed off naked Swedish lady comes off firing a shotgun at Frank Griffin. It was pretty funny, if it wasn't for, like, you know, the tragedy of, you know, obviously, like, a rape happened the night before.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sure.
We allow all kinds here.
Oh, yeah, there was another, my favorite woman in the village, I can't remember her name.
Your favorite woman?
Yes, my favorite woman in the village full of women. Was I can't remember her name at all, but she was the town teacher and town prostitute. She started off being the prostitute, and then the actual teacher died in the mining accident. So they're just like, well, fuck, we need a teacher now. Hey, prostitute lady, do you want to do it? And she's like, yeah, sure, why not?
So she's still being a prostitute while working.
Yes, there is a scene where she has sex with one of the women, actually.
Oh, I thought it'd be one of the students.
No, the students are still all in elementary school because it's only a couple years after the incident happened, and none of them are grown up enough. But basically, yeah, she had sex with, I forget if it was a guy or a girl, but basically she then sees one of the kids is like, oh, hi, Frankie. Have you been studying your multiplication tables? And he's like, yes, teacher. He's like, good job. All right, I'm going to get going now. That was another good subplot. So there was a lot of good parts to it, and all right, my favorite line from the whole show. So Frank Griffin and his crew of merry cowboys end up coming across a village that's infested with smallpox. Because, you know, it's the wild, wild west.
Yeah,
that shit happens.
Smallpox is a big deal in that day. You know?
Yep. And basically, they walk into a building with, like, you know, men.
Have they seriously not found the body yet?
They walk into a building with men, women, and children, all just covered with smallpox. And one of Frank Griffin's crew members goes, "What the fuckity fuck?" And that just had me laughing for a while. I'm like, that's a very interesting reaction to just have to this extremely messed up scenario.
Okay, they found me and killed me.
All right, so we got about 3 more minutes. So I haven't gone into much of the overall plot of the show. Basically, you know, there's Roy Good talking. There's the women who are getting a really good offer from this company. So it's like, basically, we'll pay you all this money. We just want to help you get the mining operation set back up because we need that a lot. But they held a lot of pride in the fact that they didn't need any men. They didn't need most men in that.
Yeah.
And eventually they were fighting back and forth, and then they eventually say, like, okay, fine, we'll do it.
Oh, I think you found the body. Oh, wait, no, it was just some weird thing.
And I won't go into what happens at the end of that. If you're interested, you can go check it out for yourself. What I will
How did you see me?
How did you see me? I just murdered your friend next to him, but I
didn't murder him. I was murdering.
But it was a muffled murder.
Yeah. Fuck. This is not going well.
Yeah. I won't go too much more into how they went about with that. And then so the big thing is the big climactic battle at the end of it all. So basically the Cowboys end up tracing the Cowboy gang ends up tracing Roy Good back to the Village of Women because that's where, like, he's hiding out. Although most of the women didn't know that because he's living with Alice, who isn't a big fan of the village full of women. So eventually the Cowboys are riding in and they're going to want to destroy everything. So they eventually end up, like, getting help and, like, getting all their guns and all their possibilities ready. So there's this big shootout and it's kind of meh, in my opinion, honestly. Like, everyone dies.
Why is this guy ready for battle?
I mean, he knows you're coming.
But, like, I've been completely stealthy.
So pretty much, I think pretty much all of the Cowboys die except for Frank Griffin, the leader of them all. He runs off because he knows that Roy Good's gonna find him. So then there's the final battle.
Look at his body.
There's the final battle between Frank Griffin and Roy Good, right?
Yeah.
And Roy Good ends up winning.
Oh, look at this fucker. Oh, okay.
And the whole time he's just like, no, I seen my death. This ain't it. And, like, that's been his common catchphrase the whole time. Frank Griffin has been confident about everything he's done this whole time since he's seen his death, and he's confident he knows what God wants from him. And the last thing he hears is Roy Good saying, well, it looks like you thought wrong, and just blew his brains right out. And you can see, like, this moment of contemplation he has in his eyes before he died. It was a pretty good last moment to have, I'm not going to lie. I was just like, that was a pretty good way for the villain to go out. And then they're all standing around a grave. So you know that classic hero scene in movies where, like, the hero is fighting off hordes of bad guys, but there's just too many of them and they outnumber him and our brave hero dies.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's a common trope that happens, and it happened in this, except here's the thing, the hero just died.
Oh.
He never fought anyone, so, I mean, he's not really even a hero. He was just an off character I didn't even care that much about. So Bill McNew had a sidekick. His name was Whitey, hilariously enough.
Oh god, I left that body in an awkward position.
Yeah, so Whitey was the town sheriff while Bill McNew was out of town trying to hunt down Roy Good and Frank Griffin and them. So you could see him, like, he's in this police station, like, flipping around guns like crazy, you know, like the classic gunslinger, like, gun twirling. And he's a pretty good shot, so you're expecting him to do something. So then he walks out, and then he just gets a knife thrown at him and dies.
Oh.
No explanation as to where the knife came from.
So do they show who did it later on?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Like, he just dies.
It could have just been one of the students or the prostitute.
Like, that'd be weird because he's on their side, but...
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't read.
But before the final fight, before any of the final fight has begun, no one's even shot a bullet yet. They just chuck a knife at him, and they're giving him, like, this hero's eulogy at the end. I'm like, Whitey sucked. He tried going down to the village of nothing but black people, and then ended up getting them killed.
Drugs.
So yeah, there's a lot to like about Godless. We gotta wrap up the episode now, so... There's a lot to like about Godless. At the end of the day, I thought it was pretty meh. Like, everyone died who I was expecting to die. Everyone except Whitey lived who I was expecting to live. And Whitey didn't even die, that interestingly.
Oh, so that was the part you didn't want me in the live chat for?
Yes, because we were talking, I was talking with Sean, and he was talking about the funniest deaths of 2017. Whitey's death in Godless was my funniest death of 2017. You're just expecting so much more, and just out of nowhere, like, you're not expecting anything to happen, but he just gets a knife thrown at him and bleeds out before the action even begins.
Alright, so, everyone, I completed the first mission.
That's nice.
I didn't do the secondary objective. I alerted people. I killed people. I was not fast, and I was not a thief.
Alright.
So, yeah.
Yep. So, basically, I'll sum it all up. Godless was kind of meh. I think you could watch better stuff, but if you're into Wild West things and you're into like having a feminist twist, it's okay, and I think you might enjoy it.
There were still 54 enemies alive.
Wow, I thought you literally went on a genocide that time and killed pretty much everyone.
There were a few that I know I left, but still.
Okay. Alright, so yeah, that's gonna about wrap it up for this episode. So, if you guys liked hearing me ramble about Godless, I have a lot of other videos where I ramble on about stuff I watched on Netflix. They're all easily bingeable, one season long. Maybe you'll enjoy them.
Yeah. Alright, everyone. Thank you very much for showing up again.
Bye!